that we relate to as Kāwinu. We always acknowledge them, but first and foremost, I acknowledge the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the faithful angels, and the Māngai, which is the spokesperson in Māoridom for Ihoa, our Heavenly Father. I also acknowledge that I belong to or connect to our maunga, our mountain, which is Maunga Haruru, our river, for about 2 weeks, and I just swore to just never go back there, ever. But I am here on behalf of all my brothers and sisters that were incarcerated. One who's just been released about a month ago. He served 32 years in prison for a heinous crime. But it happened when he was around 18, 19, 20 years old. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time and done a huge mistake, taking someone else's life. And he's an entirely different person. He's a grandfather now, so entirely different person now, but I'm here on his behalf as well. And it does show an increasing amount of people, mostly Maori, going to jail every year. And that started off on around 300 and something in 2015, and now it's up to well over almost 700 people incarcerated. The majority of those people are Maori. And I know why our people are going to jail. It's because they have mental issues, problems. Because our people back in New Zealand can't fit into our system there, into our society there, because it wasn't designed for them. We have our own design, and we were born with it. And I'm pretty sure that everyone here today can agree that you were all born with your own way of life and your own way, your own design of living. So our people, we rebel against something that we just can't fit into. And so we take drugs, alcohol. I'm sure everybody can relate to that. Yeah, I quit about 10 years ago, but yeah, from doing that though, I learned you know, what it was like to be wasted and off my face and all that, and going into another realm, and you know, being directed by our ancestors that were in my head all the time. And so I know what our people are going through in the jails now. And listening to Jeanette, I try and tell our people back home, you know, just stop trying to fight it, fight it, just be still and let things happen. And you know, don't give in to their, you know, give them a reason to arrest you. Don't give them a reason to be part of their system. Just be still and get the likes of others to speak on your behalf that, you know, that will wear a bra just to stop you from going to jail.
In groups, you see, so this youth club became a Maori place, and then we noticed lots of stuff happening. This is way back in 1980, so much so that a barrister, a QC, and I ended up at the police station. There was a big gang raid there, if you read Once for Warriors, and the cops called us a couple of nigger lovers. That was in those particular times. That's to where New Zealand was at in those days. But I thought, Jesus, I was a businessman, and I thought this is a bit strange. So I started going to the court, and I've been going to the court since 1975 as a businessman listening. And I thought, Jesus, you know, everyone's living off the same kids in a small town. And then I started visiting women in prison, and I get a big wire when I go down to see them in prison. And then I found when they were coming home, some of them were scratched and marked, and they weren't getting the attention. So I'd go to the health department and say, hey, who's looking after these kids? And they looked at me, and these are the paid departments. They say, don't ask us, we don't relate to them. So you've got a huge mess over there, but the mess, as far as ICOPA is concerned, can be fixed, and it can be fixed in a small town. Because of late, and it comes from leadership, as somebody was saying, before Minnie and I came, we had the whole city council lined up, including a new mayor, and we put a target on a board. What would happen if nobody became a child-friendly city. Well, we know what Napier would be like if you had a child-friendly city, because mothers would be supported with children. And this has been recommendations that have gone on for years and years. And anyway, out of the blue, and I won't go back when ICOPA came to Napier, because our city was designated as a pilot city as an alternative to violence. Because it was bicultural, no council or mayor touched it. So we formed a trust, and I've been part of that trust since 19 yonks, you know. And anyway, a woman came to us the other day, her name was Kirsten Wise, and she said, if I'm your next mayor of Napier, I'll implement the child-friendly strategy, and I'll look at our town and find out how many of our members of our town are going into this new $1 billion proposed 3,000 bed prison, which is on the drawing board now. Now that's the first breakthrough, possibly, we've ever had, and I hope next ICOPA that Minnie and others with the Mayor of Napier will come at a leadership level, because it's got to come from bloody leadership. If it doesn't come from leadership, we're stuffed, you know, working and picking away. Before I conclude, I go to some of these groups that Minnie goes, and I've got a mountain too, so I say to these groups, my moanga is Otatra, and my river is Tulai Kuri, so I say, call Pat Magill, I go moanga, Otatra. And I said, born in Napier, 29th of September 1926, and a little kid the other day sort of worked out, and I said, Christ, you're old. Now, I'd just like to say one thing. We're knocking these books off by Ruth Morris. She was an amazing Quaker woman that started ICOPA, and we're selling them for our fare. If you've got universities that'll buy a book, the book needn't be $50, $30, $2, which was these costs. I can charge you a book. It's brilliant, brilliant stuff, transformative justice by. So come to me and I'll sell you a book. And I'd just like to say while I'm here, the inspiration of my life personally was not easy at times, at times. You're lonely, so don't be bloody lonely, because in Australia there's got Brett Collins and his partner Kat, who've been inside collectively for 20 years, and they run Justice Action in Sydney, whacking away at the system of mental instability in prisoners. So when I get down to it and I feel tired, I go and see this man here. How are you, mate? You know. And, so we're not alone today. One more thing, I've got 5 minutes, I won't take my 5 minutes up. I want to say something what happened at the last ICOPA here, which wasn't near as well run as what this one is, because this feels good. Anyway, there was a French woman called Claire Delise, and afterwards Hal Popensky and I, and Brett was looking after a paedophile in Sydney, and there was hell to play with this paedophile Brett was looking after, and in his house, the shit hit the fan all through Australia. So ICOPA made the support for Brett, that they favoured the wisdom of Brett to look after this Ferguson, wasn't it?
Yep.
Jack Ferguson. So ICOPA moved that we uppy Brett in this thing, and that was a great help to Brett. So the lady that doesn't wear the bras in prison, don't be alone any longer, because we should get a bloody big website and support each other a hell of a lot more than we're doing, because there's some good stuff going. Anyway, this Claire Delise, Hal Popensky, Brett and I were walking on the Thames looking for a pint, and she was doing a thesis on Northern Southern Ireland, and a real gutsy young woman. She started crying, and I said, "What are you crying for?" And she said, I felt lonely as a young woman, and I didn't know so many people cared. So already us coming here, you know, and you're not 90, you're bloody 20 or 30, Brett and I were saying it's a good job we come, because there's a whole lot of caring here, so don't be frightened to care. It can be dangerous a bit. People like around, we've got to support. Okay? Okay then.
Te tera mai ngai iwi, tātou tātou e. Te tera mai ngai iwi, tātou tātou e. Whaia te maramatanga, me te aroha i ngai iwi. Kia tapatahi, kia patarira, Tatou, tatou, e. Tatou, tatou, e.
Yeah. We're rolling now. Yeah, good day, Minnie. Lovely to meet you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
About myself, my name's Minnie Ratima. It's not my real name. It's my the name that everybody knows me for. My name's Magill Ratima. I'm from New Zealand, Napier, Aotearoa.
And so that's New Zealand?
Yeah, New Zealand.
Yes.
And yeah, born and bred there in a place, little suburb called Maraenui.
Yes. And tell us, well, who's that friend beside you?
This is my mate Pat.
Yeah. Pat's special too, isn't he? You both come from New Zealand for the purpose of the ICOPA conference. Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us, what's the reason for coming to ICOPA? What's the message you have to tell people?
I was actually quite shocked. I only found out like a couple of months ago that I was asked if I wanted to come here, and I said yeah, and I thought it was, I just thought I'd say yes for fun.
Yes.
And then the next night I got sent e-tickets. So Pat, good old Pat.
Yes. Are there problems in your community, in the Maori community in New Zealand?
Yeah, one of the things I did want to I wanted to get the message out to people here in ICOPA about what's happening in New Zealand with a lot of my people, Maori people, in jails for the most stupidest crimes.
Yes.
Some of them aren't even criminal, I don't think.
So many, there's some issues there in your community inside in Napier?
In our country, actually.
Yes.
With people, Maori people being sent to jail for minor charges, and non-Maori being sentenced to other get given different sentences compared to Maori. Maori go to prison, non-Maori don't.
Yes, and so you have personal experience as well. You described earlier to ICOPA people that you had for a while. You had experience personally.
Yeah, there was a 2-week experience when I was 16, and I swore I would never go back there again. But because I was a ward of the state from 10 years of age, 3 to 15. And I just swore that I just wouldn't go back to prison, and I never have. But I do advocate for a lot of my brothers and sisters over in New Zealand that have been in prison, and we've had meetings after meetings, and where we share stories, and a lot of them that do come out of prison as well. I've helped with their housing applications, and because the way you apply for a house now over in New Zealand was completely changed from.
Is there an issue for jobs and things for Maori people?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So does it mean that young people don't have training for jobs and no alternatives?
No, they don't. And where I'm from in Napier, it's the fruit bowl of New Zealand, so a lot of people there are expected to go and work in the orchards and pick apples and prune trees, and a lot of people like doing that sort of thing. But for our youth and older generations, they just, it's not what they're passionate about, and so we try and get them into doing stuff like music and writing lyrics and all that, dancing.
Is there a local prison, a prison close by where the young people are going? Which jail is that?
It's called Maori prison, and it's about 20k from where I live, 30 k's from where I live, and it's overcrowded at the moment.
Yes, and so do you go and visit people? Do you get a sense of what's happening there?
No, I don't visit there.
No. You have a sense of the damage that's done after people are released from the prison?
Yes.
How do people fit back in?
I'm related to a lot of people that are in there now. And plus, for example, one of the young men that came out, he's in his early 20s, is in a relationship with my baby, and I don't know how that happened, but I asked him around the suicides in Magill prison, and he spent 3 years there for being part of an aggravated robbery, so just been in the wrong place at the wrong time as well. And while he was in Magill prison, there was quite a few suicides there, which he thinks, and I sort of believe too, that it was linked to addictions and mental health.
Right. So do you think there's a much better way of treating people having social problems? What are there proposals made around Napier? Or,
Well, there have been, yes, there are proposals made for funding to go towards Maori mental health and addictions. And right now it's really encouraging to know that there are walk-in centres being set up in Hastings, and we actually ran a walk-in centre as well through a community house that was given to the community, but then the house got taken away.
So bringing Pat into that now then, Pat, so you're very much part of the Napier community. What's your view of what's happening currently for the Maori problem, particularly Maori imprisonment issue?
Well, unless it's a leadership problem in the town, which it's never been, the town just goes on and does the same thing, even though the Roper report, the most extensive report ever compiled in 1986, suggested that prisons were hopeless, failed, and that habilitation centres were the places to look at where people with drug offence conditions, mental illness, couldn't be solved in prison. And the government commissioned this report, and they thought that the fellow Roper was a prosecuting judge, would bring down a harsher penalty, which the government was going to fight the elections on, was influenced by Sir Norman Perry and another member of the Maori woman on the Roper Commission, that prisons weren't the place to send people at all. But the government since then rejected the Roper report, and it's fought elections ever since on law and order and harsher penalties.
Right.
So New Zealand now is really one of the most little punitive nations in the world that doesn't understand its own history, although outsiders call us very, very nice people. Bob Gaucho came, you know.
So isn't the restorative justice issue something that for which New Zealand is proud and renowned?
Well, it's restorative justice, but nothing changes to a certain extent. It's the transformative justice that really needs to change, where people recognise that in people themselves there's huge potential.
And so restorative practices as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So we're at the stage, and you can only, my belief since I've been, you know, having been born in Napier, is that unless there's leadership that understands in your own town, we've virtually been pushing shit uphill because you get a negative aspect of prisoners or where your people are going to, because it's not an issue for them. So just of late, which came out of the blue, there's a city councillor who would like to be the mayor, the aspiring mayor, that looked at the projects that we've been trying to run. That's Minnie and the Pilot City Trust, because Minnie works with the Pilot City Trust, and one of the main projects is a child-friendly city where mothers that need help and guidance can be given support against the massive amount of money that's spent in prison. Here is an opportunity where you can support the mums where eventually the kids would go. And this woman, we made a submission to the council on it, but you get this negative sort of thing like this. But this woman, whose name is Councillor Kirsten Wise, came along and said, I'm open to that. And she's virtually said before we came to ICOPA that she would like to see the prison numbers reduced by programs that are implemented in the community that will prevent incarceration. So I said to her, could I use your name at ICOPA? And she said yes. And I said, could I suggest to ICOPA that every 2 years that ICOPA receive a report from you in Napier or the City Council in Napier as to how you are going, if there's a decrease in suicides people are finding in communities programs in a small city, because we're only 60 to 70,000 people. And she said yes, so I'm going to suggest to ICOPA today, and hopefully the Mayor and Minnie might come to ICOPA, where ICOPA can learn if a city is able to, through programs that they implement, keep people away from imprisonment.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Personally, I think that given time, that will happen. But what I'm so pleased about living in a very, very negative town, that whoever becomes mayor after Kirsten Wise, and this is why I think it's valuable ICOPA continues to exist, will have to, instead of running a city for the wealthy, which normally it is, or Art Deco, which is all good, they've also got a responsibility in our city, which was already designated as a pilot city, to be responsible and be outright in what conditions people have been born up to when they're born.